then, Nadine, in your house? How many sort of all using internet at the one time?
My sister and my brother, and then I got like another brother. He's in like the school up the road from us, so he's on it as well. And then my mum.
Wow.
And thank God my dad's gone, because then there would be no chance for us.
There'd be no hope. Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes, like last time, I tried to go to a different place, like where my dad works, to try and do it there, but that was even worse.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no getting around it. Sometimes, and you get days where it is just, it's
Yeah.
the gods. So don't worry. I always guess when that happens when you go out, I think, I know what it is. Right. Okay. So first things first. So the lesson we've got is that exemplar response, as I mentioned to you the other day. We're going to look at an exemplar response. So what I'd like you to do, first of all, is I'd like you to read your way through the answer that's here. It's just over, it's 2 pages and a line. Okay. And this is from one of our current Year 13 students when they responded to a similar question, as you can see, last year. As you're reading through it, I want you to look and think about, identify what's good about it, okay, as an answer. As you'll see, the question that's been answered is this one, the second option that I gave you in the question paper. Uses one point that we haven't read yet, which I thought was a good thing, because I don't want to cloud your own ideas as well for the poems that you'll be using. So you see that there's different, it's tall and sub, which we'll be coming on to ourselves over the next few lessons, but it gives you an insight into how to tackle a question, how to kind of structure it. So I will leave you in peace and quiet now. It's just gone 2:15. So if I give you now until, say, 2:25, yeah, just to read through that and make some notes as you go along about what you think is really positive about it, and how well it answers the question, sort of thing, just so you know for your own kind of knowledge as well. It got a mark. This one got a mark of 21 out of 25. Okay, that's what it received. Okay, so just begin to read your way through now. Okay. Okay, let's begin to sort of discuss what's good about this essay and your thoughts. So, Theon, come to you first. What did you make of it? Was there anything that you picked on particularly and you highlighted, annotated in the essay?
It was really, really good.
What did you like about it?
I guess just like the ideas that they got from it.
Good.
And how they picked it out from the language and the techniques that she used.
Yeah, good. And that's that sort of it, and that's we're looking for sort of reader engagement there, which we're getting a lot of. And that links to that AO5, which is about varied interpretation. Now, with varied interpretation, you only need to have more than one, and that's variation. Because you always get examine or explore the view. That'll always be couched in the question itself. But here we see that we get the response, and we feel that it's the writer themselves of the essay that is responding to this. But as you mentioned, it's based on it is that idea about it being everything that's been commented upon in the essay. It's been based upon sort of the language used by the poet, poetic literary devices, and again that just for the AOs that takes us to the AO2 material of an essay. And AO2 should always be that kind of driver of all essays, sort of thing. Thank you, Nadine. If you're still with us here at the moment, what's your initial thoughts to this essay?
Like with every point that they've had, it's like it's got like loads of examples with it. Like it's not just stating it; it's like showing why.
Good, yeah, exactly. Right. Oops. Yeah, as you're saying there, we're getting each point is backed up by a quote, reference to the text, and the nice and short quotes that I've done there as well, just to embed it into the text. And again, that takes us into that realm of AO2, which is exactly what you want to do. And as you're saying, Nadine, with every comment that they're making, with every bit of evidence that you're using to support, they then go on to explain what they're doing. Good. And if we just begin to sort of pick our way through aspects of the essay. So, again, the questions there at the top. In our anthology, Feminine Gospels, Caroline Duffy suggests the argument that women are lonely individuals cut off from the mainstream, from society. Now, straight away, you can see, and you can hear my dogs in agreement. What you see here is straight away there's direct reference to the question. And that's what you want to sort of signal with your essays, whichever one that you do, sort of thing. It is always to make that direct reference within the first sentence or second at the latest, sort of thing. It is a direct response to the question, and it uses the question to sort of drive the answer. Okay. And that way, by doing that, it's showing that you're completely focused on the task. You recognise what it is that you've been asked to do, and and it's given that clear statement. However, in doing so, the poet equally raises the question: if women are cut off or self-isolated by using personification, solitary imagery, and internal rhymes, along with other poetic devices, Duffy challenges this idea and challenges the conventions of the mainstream society. Now, what we then have developing quite nicely is so we have that development of the opening idea that's been said in that first sentence. Oops, and then introduces it introduces already that alternative idea, which is sort of AO5 that we're looking at there again. So that's just a good technique to have. Obviously, these points that have been raised, they've just really been introduced here, but already in that sort of opening paragraph, it's beginning to show that here is, you know, somebody who's going to answer in their essay, hopefully, and give evidence to support these things. But again, there's a nice sort of structure beginning to develop. It then moves on to, and again, look at the length of detail. This is the other thing, and again, it's one of these things that some people find the trickiest to deal with at A level. But again, if you look at the length of this second paragraph here, and this is all going to be reflecting on the one poem, on one sort of key aspect of their answer, and that in itself, you know, the length and detail there of that paragraph, it shows that they're not scared to go into detail with the ideas that they've got. They're quite comfortable with doing that. And they're willing to kind of expand upon points that they're making. So let me just sort of pick a few bits out. So obviously the first poem introduced is tall, demonstrates how the persona blanketing women as a whole is physically separated from society. So again, still referencing that idea about isolation in a different way. You know, oops, it's the wrong part. I've highlighted. That is just another way of looking at isolation, isn't it? Duffy toys with her exaggeration of height and the concept of social reflexivity, ironically suggesting that she physically moved in an uply mobile fashion, creating a high level of social reflexivity, becoming isolated and autonomous. So again, that idea of keeping the focus on being isolated, yeah. All the time sort of hammering that point home about, I know that this is a key concept that's been asked in the question, and I've got my focus on it. She literally doesn't fit into society anymore, but instead shapes societal norms according to herself and the environment. Although she's been cut off, she takes in her 7 league boots stride. And again, nice, short, embedded, integrated quote into it. And then explores that. Duffy uses this. So what we like about this and what is good about this, and this is taking us into that AO2 territory, is that awareness of it's a deliberate action by the writer here. So here it's all about sort of looking at the writer's intentions, which in turn, oops, is exploring that whole writer-reader relationship. It shows again that the writer of the essay is used to this, is aware of this as an idea, and is willing to actually sort of explore that. Also, we're getting good sort of AO1 by now as well. It's that idea that using sort of terminology that is apt for it. You know, there's use of irony, exaggeration, those sorts of things that we expect to find within an essay to do with literature. Okay. Again, down to here, carries on. Imagery Duffy creates. So again, that awareness of it being the author's craft. It's recognizing that it's Duffy that is creating the landscape of the poem. It's Duffy that is creating these personas, all being crafted by the writer. And again, didn't pop that there. It is good AO2 that we're getting there. Okay. Carries on, subtly introduces the reader to think about how taboo it is for the human construct of gender hierarchy to be reversed. So again, that sort of idea, talking about constructs, still keeps us within that sort of realm of AO2, sort of a writer's craft. But again, that idea about hierarchy and gender, that takes us into this world of the AO3 context reference. Okay, so we just begin to mark those ones out. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so what we're beginning to see now is we're hitting all within this essay, you've got AO1, AO2, AO3, and AO5. You can see already 3, 2, 5 are already getting hit in that first page pretty early on. You'd expect to see this again being replicated time and again throughout the essay. AO1, you kind of make your kind of judgment call about the end because that's the written expression of the essay as a whole. But already, you know, if you're marking it, it's beginning to shape up quite nicely. And you know that you're going to put it into the higher bands for AO1 because the fact that AO2, AO3, and AO5 has been handled within the same paragraph structure and the same ideas, and it shows that the person who's writing that essay then is well aware that these can be handled together, that AO2 impacts upon AO3, which can impact upon AO5 as well. It's seeing that connection between task, text, and context, that sort of thing, and been handled confidently. Okay, we get similar things. We just go a little bit further down, start here. Now the woman can also see that she's freakish by society's standards. So again, contextual and a point of view coming across. Through this, Duffy introduces. So again, good to see that being done. It's all the time aware that this is the poet controlling the thoughts and the reactions of the reader. And it's why they write their essay in this sort of style. So they're looking at the conflict, women being either constantly on display versus having to hide themselves. Duffy plays into this as the tall woman defies being cut off by society and continues walking. She doesn't let society stop her journey and even takes on the wrongs of others by fixing the traffic light that stuttered. As a persona becomes eye high with street lamps, she can no longer comfort being able to relate to anyone around her. The most comparable thing to her as an inanimate object. This creates, again, that repetition, solitary image. So again, back to the concept of isolation, and it's solitary. And by now, we can also begin to think about AO1 with terminologies being used. We've got embedded quotes coming in by this point as well, and it's been done consistently. So again, really good. And so we can think about that, you know, that is already, you know, if we wanted to sort of mark it up in some way and get an indicator, we're already beginning to think, right, there's good AO1 going on here, most definitely. And we're expecting that to continue and to carry on. Okay. And so the essay begins to develop. Looking on to the second page here, we move on to our second poem. Again, making sure that they keep this idea of the persona as coveted of femininity in order not to be cut off from playing football on equal grounds with men. If her breasts weren't bandaged, or if she joined the team bath with the lads, then she wouldn't be accepted and would be shortchanged of equal opportunity. Alternatively, Duffy suggests to the reader that the woman in sub made the choice to have her breasts bandaged herself and yet finds herself literally bound by mainstream society. So again, we can see here lots of different things going on. Again, what we get in good essays is signposting by the writer. And here we get neatly signposted. This is my alternative reading. Here is, you know, a different viewpoint. Okay. Oops. And so, by doing things like that, you know, by signposting it and using the right sort of language there to say, right, that I'm bringing in something different. It's when you're marking. It does. You know, it kind of begins to self-mark. With good essays, they begin to kind of almost self-mark themselves because you've been guided to which AO to go to, what to look for. You're thinking, I know I need to be looking now at AO5, and there's a good chance as well, because there's the quotes there, it's going to lead me into AO2 as well. And so it's pushing in an open door that in that respect. You know, you're guiding the person to what you want them to reward for you. It's showing that clear knowledge. Okay. All the time, again, keeping those short embedded quotes and then developing them. And then we get another signpost a little bit further down. We have on the contrary. So we can see that this is someone who is quite happy to sort of almost explore the text at will. You know, they look at it one way, then another. Imagine sort of, you know, it's like a specimen being held up to the light. And that's what we're seeing being done here with it again. And it's somebody who's confident in doing this. You know, again, Duffy constantly refers to the idea that women are self-isolated. So again, repeatedly returning to the point that's been made in the question itself. And this is about the sort of, probably about the sort of fifth reference to isolation in some way, shape, or form. But again, it's about showing I'm focused on this question. Bring that back. Boom. There we go. That's the oops. Okay, so again, back to the point of the question of isolation, but slight difference this time, in that it's introducing seeing differences that isolation can either be pushed upon you by constraints of society, or sometimes it can be, you know, self-inflicted, that desire to be isolated yourself. And so it's beginning to explore that concept too. The woman in sub has a solitary shower, suggesting it's an active choice to be separated from men. This brings an interesting perspective for the reader. And so developing, making sure that the point is being understood by the marker of the essay here. Not leaving it to chance, not leaving it to any doubt that that's going to be what is rewarded here. Okay. And then if we move on bit deeper into this one as well. And again, just like on the first page here, you can see a substantial paragraph being used as well to support and develop the ideas here. So don't be afraid about developing your points of view as well. Okay, so we move on to this challenge just down here. This challenge is met in football, rugby, music, moon landings, boxing, Formula One racing, and tennis and sub, all of which the woman conquers and becomes the best in the world. Despite the overwhelming success in every area, doing things many will only ever dream of, the woman in sub should never have been able to win the World Cup or beat Muhammad Ali as herself. As a woman, although she felt hot as sex with screams hot as lava, there is a lack of satisfaction after every triumph experienced by the reader, as they are left knowing that the persona spent her entire life never living as her true self. This is the case for many girls and women all throughout society. So again, we're getting AO2 intertwining with AO3 and AO5. And while she may have fulfilled her biological purpose of reproducing and able to spend the last years of her life surrounded by children and grandchildren, the reader knows there was something missing. And again, just those small things that make it good. Going back to understanding that this text needs to be seen through the eyes of the reader. So they're placing themselves in the third person here, rather than saying, it's my reading, it's my opinion. They're looking at it through the eyes of a reader. And that's something, that, again, which is good technique to have. Okay. And then it picks out the way that the poems themselves begin to end, or this one in particular, sub. Just down here, Duffy concludes the poem by leaving the audience to reflect on this. The story is left to be written by future generations of women for the rest of history. It's their responsibility to respond. An alternative interpretation of the ending of the poem is this. Duffy has left the persona lost for words, speechless at her own life. She's done things never possible, had been cut off from mainstream society. She made her own path. Now, what they've done, and as we'll see when we explore it, it's a really ambiguous ending. So again, we just highlight that. Oops. Again, it's back into that sort of rich AO2, but rather than just focusing on language here, what they've actually noticed in their answer as well, it's a structural feature in the way that this poem ends, the way that it is open-ended, and the way that it's nicely ambiguous and can be interpreted in more than one way. Okay, so again, think about layout when you're answering your question. Think also about the layout of the poem, how it physically looks, how it shapes. Do we have enjambement? Do we have the caesura mid-break in a line? Obviously, we've got the internal rhymes and things like that we've been picking out already in the poems that we've looked at. And then clearly signals that the essay is coming to a close. In conclusion. So again, it's all to do with structure, very neat and tidy. It's led you through it. And again, within that concluding paragraph, what's been done there is basically that sort of summing up of all the sort of previous ideas, and that sort of one return again back to the central point of the question, and taking us through those arguments. Furthermore, in sub, the persona fulfills her biological purpose of reproducing, creating a family, happiness for herself. The counter-argument, of course, is that she did not achieve this as a woman, representing the internalized battle women are constantly fighting against herself and society as a whole, men and women included, in order to be successful and recognised in their own right, or even live lives in their own quiet right. Therefore, Duffy takes on a responsibility to become an advocate for women in order to give them a voice, attempting to prevent loneliness and promote equality. And there, once again, returns back, as we see, to what the question was answering: lonely individuals, isolation. So it starts off by referencing the question, ends by referencing the question too. So there's a nice symmetry to the structure of the answer. Is that going to go yellow? It is. Don't want yellow. I don't want yellow. Get rid of that first. Shoot. Boom. 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 Okay, so it gives it again, and that's what gives it nice, sort of strong AO1 as well. It shows you that it's somebody who's sort of in control of the essay that they're writing. It's neatly structured, open and ending, mirror each other, and they all tie back to the question itself. Hence, it gets that mark, 21 out of 25. Okay. Any questions on that? Anything that you want a bit more clarification on, or are you okay with what I went through there with you? Does that all make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so you know what's coming now, don't you? It's over to you time now. Okay. So either question 1 or 2, you can choose. And also use it from the poems that we've looked at so far. We'll be going on to look at Tall tomorrow. I thought it'd be quite good to do this today to set this up because we've got a lesson early in one, so it means Daniel should be able to be with us for that lesson tomorrow as well. And when we're going through a new poem. So now what I'm going to hand over to you, and I'm going to allow you can just sort of drop out the call now. I want you to begin sort of planning, preparing for which one of these 2 questions that you're going to do now in the last sort of 15 minutes that we've got of the lesson here. I'll stay on the line. Obviously, if you get any questions that you want to ask me, feel free, just message me in Teams or, say it in the Teams itself, and I'll help you. But what I would suggest you do is think about the structure of your essay that you're going to do. Which questions you're going to do, 1 or 2, and then think which. Now, you've got to use 2 poems, and just use 2 poems here. That's all I want you to use. So just think about which 2 poems you want to use out of the, I think we've done 4 so far now, out of the 4 that we've done, which 2 do you want to use to answer the question? And then maybe start today thinking about the quotes that you want to sort of tease out that will support your answer. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, you okay with that, Nadine? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so say I'll stay online if you want any more assistance sort of thing, but you can go off to begin your planning now, and then I'll see you first thing in the morning, period 1, I do believe.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. See you later.